Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 20th of March 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, I was talking about this one in my yesterday's video, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little tentative downside resistance line. And if I jump back into the 4-hour chart here, by the way, you can see that when I was running my yesterday's video, we were still trading above this this downside resistance line. But as the day evolved, you can see that the index managed to travel lower and managed to end the day just slightly above this key area of support that I was talking about as well, the 25,800 level. So basically all eyes today are on that area, because if this gets a firm break here, and if we see this index traveling further down away from the 25,800 level, then the next target we're going to be keeping in mind would be around the 25,440 zone, but slightly below that we do have the 25,205 area as well, which is marked by the lows of the 11th of March. But to be honest, if we see a drop below the 25,800 today, then yep, initial target for us will be this 25,440 zone, which you can see how well played out nicely in the past as both areas of area of support and resistance. So that's why, guys, for now this is the one that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. If, let's say, we see a scenario where the buying momentum is going to pick up and we see this index traveling back above this downside resistance line, then of course we'll shift our views more to the upside, and we will initially target just the levels like the 26,160 or the 26,245, which where the last one marks the high of the 25th of February. Now, because we could see some momentum picking up here, yes, it could increase the chances of seeing this index traveling further up here, but we'll just keep it short and simple for now. If the index struggles to overcome, for example, the 26,245 level, well, we could have ourselves something maybe of a potential double top formation. But of course, this is too early to say that this is the case. For now, you can see that this is what we're having and we're seeing right now is, of course, the index is trading below this little short-term downside resistance line, and is currently balancing around this 25,800 level. So let's see if it manages to break that further, and if it does, then yep, the next one in the next good area of potential support could be seen near the 25,440 level. So keep your eyes on that one. Jumping into one commodity, or should I say precious metal, and that's platinum. Now, platinum is performing quite well here. I was talking about this one the day before yesterday, and basically on Monday, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on the 841 level, and you can see that what a blast we had here. It managed to travel higher, managed to test the 850, now kind of hanged around there, and now today it continues to push further up, and of course this is where it's currently sitting at. It's sitting near the 860 level, maybe just slightly above that, but still this is the level that we're keeping a close eye on. But what's more important here is that it's getting closer to its upside, this downside resistance line. Now just to kind of mention what that level was here in the past, and we need to actually jump into a daily chart in order to kind of see what's happening here. So basically this downside resistance line has been running here for quite a while, and we need to scroll back all the way here towards the August 2011. So that's how long this line has been intact, of course apart from this little moment here once, but still, and I'm talking about the February 2013, but still nevertheless this line, this downside resistance line, continues to hold the price down. And of course you can see that the commodity is getting closer to this downside resistance line. If this gets broken, now this is where all the action could start. And if platinum travels above the 878 level, which marks the highs of February and the high of November last year, now this is where it could become even more exciting for investors here, as we could see more of them jumping in and potentially seeing this one, this commodity, this precious metal, accelerating further here to the upside. But of course for now, until we're kind of still trading below this downside resistance line, we're just gonna continue monitoring that, because it's too early to say that this could be that scenario, this long-term upside scenario. But again, we're not excluding that probability, but again, we need to see a nice good confirmation break first before we can assume something, or let's say we can take either of the sides. So basically, long story short, guys, for the upside, we're keeping a close eye on this downside resistance line. If we do get a nice pop here above this, don't rush into it yet. A good confirmation break here above the 878 level could potentially lead towards higher areas. But until then, we're just going to continue observing this, because nothing is kind of stopping it from, let's say, traveling a little bit lower, a little bit higher here, but hitting this downside resistance line and then retracing back down again. So that's why I drew this this short-term upside support line. For now, this is just going to be a tentative one for now, something for us to refer to. But if this continues to hold, if this downside resistance line continues to hold, then yep, we could see maybe the bear stepping in again and potentially driving this one lower. But again, for now the path holds higher, and let's see what it wants to do with this long-term downside resistance line. Jumping into GBPUSD now, as you probably understand, there's a lot of developments happening, a lot of news coming out from the all the Brexit negotiations. So looking at this chart, and to be honest, let me just jump back into the 4-hour chart. I was talking about this one yesterday, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this level right here at around 132.20. You can see how well this got broken today. And of course this morning we were still trading below this little short-term downside resistance line. But now we're seeing this nice drop here lower below the 132.20, and of course the next potential target for us here is around this 200 EMA, maybe just slightly below that at 131 zone. So you can see that currently the pair is rebounding from its 100 EMA. It's trying to push higher, but let's see what it wants to do with this S2, with today's S2, which is around the 132 zone, because if it fails to drive above this could be a nice good entry point for the bears, and in order to kind of push this one further down, and like I said, towards this level around the 131 zone. So if this gets back above the 132.20 level, well, again, it's going to put us into a more of a neutral stance here, and we're just going to continue observing at this point. But if this starts breaking this downside resistance line, now this is where it could become a little bit more interesting, as we could see a further acceleration here to the upside towards the 133 area. But if that gets broken, now this is where probably for those who like to take it more cautiously, and a nice good break above the 133 level could lead towards these recent highs that we saw here in the first half of March. But again, for now, this is where the pair is right now. First, our main scenario is of course to the downside. We will continue observing this 132 level, which is around today's S2. Like I said, it could retest it from underneath, and if it struggles to excuse me, if it struggles to get back above the 132.20, now this is where it could become a little bit more interesting for the bulls, for the bears, and we could see a slide lower. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. GBPCHF, nice break here to the downside, break of this upside support line. Now, what we're going to do here is, of course, we're going to continue monitoring this 200 EMA, and that's the level for us, a very important level. Yes, we did have a nice drop here below this upside support line, but to be honest, for a better confirmation of the downside, we would like to see a drop below the 130. This way the rate could get placed below the 200 EMA, which could create more negativity. And the next level that we're going to be keeping an eye on would be the 130.60, but if that fails, then yep, the psychological 130 level could get tested. But of course, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself here. First, let's see what it wants to do with this 130, because you can see after we had this break of this upside support line, this in a way tentative upside support line, you can see that the pair kind of got held near this 130, which is around the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So from which it now rebounded. If it decides to travel a little bit higher here, and if it fails, let's say, to get back above this upside support line, and if it fails to get then yep, if it fails basically to get back above this upside support line, then we could see another leg of selling here, and this is where this time we could see a retest of the 130 level, which if broken, yep, could lead towards further decline. So for now, we are more bearish than bullish, given the current activity here, but then again, don't forget that this is the pound that we're talking about, and any headline, it's at the moment it's headline driven, especially around the Brexit, so we could see a lot of volatility here up and down. So some of these levels could get violated, and yep, so that's why you guys have your stop loss in place when you're trading in general. And again, in terms of the upside, well, this is, like I said, this is the level that we're going to be keeping an eye on, the 132.30 zone here. A nice good pop above this could lead back towards higher areas, like initially aiming for the 133 area and above, or even higher than. So for now, basically, long story short, on the upside here is the 132.30. That's what we're keeping a close eye on. On the downside is a break below the 130 could lead towards further decline. So keep your eyes on those. EURGBP, so as you probably understood, the falling GBP pairs are having a nice positive effect here on the EURGBP. So we had initially a nice spike here, tested this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 2nd of January, but quickly got back below it. So of course, the main question here is where this is going to end the day. Even if it's going to stay, let's say, below this downside resistance line, but still above the 0.8595 level, we could actually see something nice here happening tomorrow, where maybe the pair will have another attempt to break this this downside resistance line, and if it does break that, then yep, we will start targeting higher areas, at least in the near term, like areas like the 0.8670 or even higher. But for now, let's continue observing today's trading activity. If this suddenly decides to drop back down below the 0.8595 level, we could see a further slide lower. But for better confirmation, let me just put this arrow here for our future reference. For better confirmation, you could also look at something like this here. Basically, we do have this nice in a way tentative upside support line here. So basically, a drop below that line could also confirm a possible move lower, where we will then target the 0.8530 or even lower levels. So for now, guys, we are stuck here. We're stuck here just slightly below this downside resistance line. But again, keep your eyes on this 0.8595 level. If it fails to drive below this, then yep, there could be another chance for the bulls tomorrow to push back above this downside resistance line, and yep, we could then target higher areas. And the last pair I want to quickly touch on, and not going to spend too much time on it, but just wanted to show you something here. So basically, this is the USD ruble, and we are at a very interesting spot right now here, and you can see that it's currently testing this area around these 64.30 level, which marks the highs here, which previously acted as a good area of resistance here. It marked the highs of the 22nd of June and the 2nd of May of last year, of course. Now this is very important, because if this gets broken, and let's say if we, or should I probably reiterate this a little bit, if we see a nice close here on the daily candle, this could potentially lead towards further declines. We could see maybe a drop even towards the lows that we saw here back on the 30th of July, and that was approximately around the 62.17 zone, or even further down. But again, we need to see a good firm close here below the 64.30 level, and then we will target lower areas. For now, it continues to balance here, balance near this key level. In order to consider the upside again, well, we would like to see a nice good push back above the 65 level, and only then aim for higher levels again. But for now, this is where the pair is stuck, but it might lead towards something interesting here, especially if we see a break below the 64.30 or a break above the 65 level. So keep your eyes on those. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Trader's Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.